welcome to the No Hair, All Heart podcast. I am your no hair, very bald host, Mookie Spitz. And the All Heart today will be focused on being in it to win it. Back in 1997, Jeff Bezos wrote a letter to his early shareholders. And in that letter, he was blunt as he could be. Don't expect to make any money from your investment for at least 4 to 5 years. Years for Wall Street that lives or dies by quarterly, sometimes monthly results, where shareholders are in it to make money off their shares. End of story. He was telling his early investors that their money will be in suspended animation, not for a quarter, not for a year, but for as long as 4 to 5 years, there would be no return and no assurance that they would get a return, with the risky possibility that they could even lose it all. That Bezos and Amazon and his entire vision and company could very well go belly up and take that initial capital investment with them. Now, that took cojones, as they say, and it also, more than anything else, took vision. Bezos understood that to build the critical mass necessary to accomplish his lofty, unprecedented, and truly revolutionary goal of creating that everything store, it would take time. And it would take cumulative losses and not gains. Now, fast forward to Q4 of 2001. Sure enough, 4 years later, he kept his word. And guess how much his shareholders made off their Amazon stock at that first announcement of sharing some type of dividend? You guessed it, 1 penny. He issued 1 penny per share on Amazon stock in Q4 of 2001. Now, some might interpret that as an insult. Some might see it as a petty way to keep his promise from that original letter. But in retrospect, his strategy worked. In retrospect, his strategy not only worked, but it seems to have been necessary to accomplish his unprecedented vision. And here's my focus today on Bezos and that vision. His dream was not, repeat, not based on a transactional exchange. His vision for Amazon wasn't a pump and dump scheme to get loaded. His vision was not a time and materials exchange of you do this and I give you that. It was not an immediate quid pro quo, which was the foundation essentially of the street and of American and likely global business. Obviously, investors invest long term. Look at the success of Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett. When asked when he recommends selling a stock, Buffett famously answered, never. You invest long term. But Bezos was doing something qualitatively and even quantitatively different, which was telling investors that there would not even be an incremental return on their investment. And that, yes, the risk was all theirs, but in exchange for that risk, playing the long shot pony, the return eventually would be so much astronomically greater. Now, history proves to be on Bezos' side. He was not only right, but I'm sure his success has exceeded even his own wildest expectations. And if he was a visionary then, without an overt profit motive, he's clearly, as one of the world's wealthiest men today in 2025, indulging in the luxuriousness of his success. I just heard that him and his fiance are planning a wedding on his $500 million yacht, inviting everyone from Ivanka Trump to a long, long list of celebrities and other billionaire personalities. Bravo, Jeff. Woohoo. But that's not the point either. What I'm getting at here is vision versus transaction, which is having the idea of something. It could be a company, it could be a creative project, small business, large business, family venture, IPO. Doesn't matter what you set your heart and mind and body to. The example that I'm citing is one of a visionary understanding that, at least in the initial phases, don't expect a return. Don't expect a transactional, instantaneous quid pro quo. Because if you expect that, if you partner up with someone and expect immediate results, especially on a new kind of venture, a risky venture, let alone a creative venture, then you're not a visionary. You're not an artist. You're an employee. And perhaps more crassly stated, you're a hooker. You are doing what you do just for the money. Now, we all want to do what we do for the money in ways that what we do is what we love to do. But that still puts you in the category of happy hooker. You might love sex, and giving might be as much fun as receiving. But the opportunity and the touch points, as it were, remain transactional. And as such, you're not building equity, you are making a living. Now, making a living is, of course, our prerogative. When Adam and Eve sinned in the garden and were kicked out by God, their punishment was to get a job. Paying the rent is kind of important. Meeting our basic needs, especially when we have dependents, is fundamental. It's table stakes for our existence. Now, things get complicated if you're starting a new venture, which is risky. You might hit the jackpot, and all of a sudden, your 401k is not only flush, but your children's trust fund is assured. Or, and even more likely, you go belly up. But you're making that move. And you're making that move not in a transactional way where the return on investment is low but assured. You're making a move based on some idea, some kind of vision, and a high degree of risk taking. So the question then becomes, do you partner with people who are hookers or even happy hookers? They might love what they do, whether it's project management or organizational development or research or production or any kind of creative exploit. They might love what they do and they hope to never work another day in their life by doing what they love, even and especially if it's transactional, because they get to do what they love or at least like, and they get to pay the bills. Now, isn't that the ticket to ride for a good life? Yes. Absolutely. I won't for a second say that that isn't the way to go. And I no means mean to disparage that point of view of teaming up to get paid and cash the check. But I opened with talking about Bezos, and I am sitting here as an anti Bezos. He's having a $500 million yacht wedding, and I am trying to pay the rent. Do I cite this example through contempt or jealousy or anger or resentment or vengefulness? No, 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 no. And before you think that I protest too much, what I'm trying to get at here is, as I have published my big novel just recently, and I am reaching out now to make contact with influencers, other creative people to potentially repurpose what I'm working on. I feel what Bezos felt in that early phase, albeit on a micro level, at least in terms of the raw metrics. But the obstacles that I'm encountering are analogous to what he encountered, which is namely individuals who do not see the value of risk taking and having a vision. Now, specifically, what I mean is I've written this novel. I've been working decades to try to crack this craft, this art form of the novel, and to do so in a way that satisfies me. I have been dissatisfied with my writing, no matter how much I've been doing it, for years. And I did it with this one. I think I got it, and I think it's great. So, more power to me. Booyah, as a boomer will say. I slayed it. If you're talking Zoomer speak, I did it. I realized my adult goal of learning how to be what I consider a great writer. Boom! Johnny Fazuli and the Transfinite Reality Engine, the first book in the Lover's Guide to the Infiniverse science fiction series. Ta-da! Well, so far, it's a tall tree falling in a forest with no one giving a shit, let alone hearing it. Now, sure, I've had people interested, and I've even had a few sales from people I don't even think I know. Round of applause. And I appreciate wholeheartedly those people I do know who purchased the book. And I've got hints of feedback from people who have actually opened the book and given it a crack. And I appreciate that feedback too. But I am ranting on this podcast to illustrate that my ability to crack this code had everything to do with throwing the notion of return on investment, at least in a material, practical sense, into the fucking toilet. Because one thing I learned perhaps more than anything else in cracking this code of learning how to write the book that I'm satisfied with, is that it takes an incredible amount of effort and immersion. You need to set aside the notion that you're going to make money from this venture, that you're going to even get acknowledgement for your efforts. You need to table all that stuff. You need to, frankly, be like Jeff Bezos in 1997, writing a letter for the people who did see his vision and did care enough to throw money at him that, you know what? Thanks for all your money, but you better hold your horses because there ain't nothing going to happen for at least 4 or 5 years. And I remember reading, even in the 90s, back before the interwebs, the Wall Street Journal, business magazines, and every quarter was the quarter where Jeff Bezos and Amazon was going to belly up. Why? Because not only was he not profitable, but he was burning money. Bezos was building debt, not profit. So the street was bearish about the Bezos. This is the quarter he's gonna fail. Nope, he didn't fail last quarter. This is the quarter he's gonna fail. Up, quarter coming up is the end of Amazon. But here's the thing. He didn't pay attention. He didn't give a shit. He just kept plowing forward. And his greatest success, flipping the organization into not only a profitable company, but the world's biggest company, or one of them, one that completely altered the paradigm of ordering and shopping, relying essentially on the model that you should go to your computer, then your smartphone, and by doing tap, 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 whatever the hell you want, whether it's a roll of toilet paper or a car, it's going to roll up on your lawn or on the stoop of your apartment within 24 hours. That is the ultimate vision. That is the vision. Boom. And he stuck to it. Now, at the risk of comparing myself to Jeff Bezos, at least in terms of that success, I've had a vision. And my vision has been writing that novel, putting out that content, and doing so in a manner that satisfies no one but myself. Now, you could say that I painted myself in a corner with that kind of an attitude, but I say something very different. And what I'm saying is, and this is why I think my rant is relevant, not just as a catharsis for me, but as inspiration for you. And whatever it is that you do is grab your vision, stay true to it, and give it your all. Whether you're a business person, whether you're a creative person, whether you're looking small, medium, or large, I see it over and over again, and I see it among the people that I'm reaching out to now, which is show me the money or go fuck yourself. That's not the way to transform your life. That's not the way to live the life of your dreams. That's the way to, at very best, be a happy hooker. You are working for the money. Regardless of the kind of work you're doing, it's transactional and it's a means to an end and not the end itself. And if you're looking for the good life through the lens of having that vision and bringing that vision to life, then you need to do so by having a similar kind of attitude. And that attitude is, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead, hell's bells. I'm willing to take a risk. I'm willing to accept total defeat, at least knowing that I gave it my best shot, and I am following what I love to do and not what I feel like I have to do. And this becomes self-evident within 5 seconds of me talking to people, and that's not because I'm not here to pay them to partner with me or pay them to boost me or pay them to do art with me or pay them to participate in my dream. I see it in their lives as an unwillingness or an incapacity to believe in their dreams. That's the point of this rant. I'm not talking about my dreams. I'm talking about your dreams. And if you are always qualifying everything you do with either the question of how much it benefits you in the moment of the doing, or through the lens of the opportunity costs of not making money elsewhere. And if you're relying on the excuse that you need to pay the rent or support your family by not doing what you love or taking any kind of risk to enable that to happen, then you have pretty much given up on your dreams. Now, all this is with the qualification that you've got dreams. And I in no way mean to disparage anyone who simply wants to live the good life by engaging in transactional work that is a means to an end, so that you can golf, so that you can travel the world, that you can own homes, and that you can do stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. If your dream is to live the good life through leisure, then knock your socks off. And chances are you're already doing exactly that. I'm talking about having a goal or a dream outside the boundaries, the self-imposed boundaries of what we consider work. Now, if you're doing something creative, or if you're living the dream through starting your own companies and being your own boss, that's what I'm talking about. You're taking risks and you're working hard. To finish my novel, I was literally cranking 18, 19 hours a day, nonstop for a month. And that was just putting the finishing touches on this thing after working on it for over a year. And that's just the first book in the series. And I'm not sitting here pounding my chest or jerking myself off to in any way try to prove to you what an artist I am. You don't give a shit. And frankly, I don't give a shit either. The reason I'm having this rant is to process my feelings of encountering people who ostensibly are artists, who ostensibly are business people, who ostensibly have that vision of transforming themselves in the world, and instead fall back to that default position of thinking about what they do transactionally immediately, with the excuse that they won't or can't take any risks and can't do what they've always wanted to do because ... There are 24 hours in the day, and I have spent pretty much my entire life working for a living. I've been responsible. I've helped raise a family. I lived a middle-class American existence. part of it in New York City. I've done what I had to do. I did what I wanted to do, and I had a lot of fun doing it. But like a monkey on my back, or at times a bag put over my head, I always knew that I wanted to rant like I'm ranting now and write like I'm writing now. And more important than anything else in my entire life was this vision of finally writing a book, a novel, a work of fiction that I could hold above my head and scream at the top of my lungs that this thing rocks. And I think I've done that. And once again, I'm not here gloating. I'm merely illustrating my vantage point right now that I have made the sacrifices necessary to at least get to the point where I consider myself viable. I consider myself, like Jimi Hendrix said, experienced. If you listen to that song, that I believe is the first track on his Are You Experienced debut trailblazing album, his super group with himself as headliner. The song Are You Experienced features his signature backward playing guitar. And it's a weird sound. It's a Fender Stratocaster through a Marshall stack, recorded in the studio with some atmospheric effects added, maybe some delay and reverb. And they played the tape backwards. And it's not satanic lyrics in a fucking Black Sabbath song. It's Jimi Hendrix experimenting with the tone of the electric guitar in a way that was truly novel, revolutionary, in fact. But here's what I get out of it. It's not in any song. It's not in Foxy Lady. It's in this Are You Experienced piece. And the reason, at least thematically, that he did it, either consciously or most likely unconsciously, is that to be experienced is to bring your experience to bear. And that sounds like a tautology, but what I'm really talking about is being able to bring your past into the present to realize your future. When he stood there with his upside down Stratocaster and his bandana and hippie clothes in front of 10, 20, 100,000 people, with his electric guitar exploding as an extension of his own body, he did that with the confidence engendered by being experienced. He played with Little Richard. He was in an army barracks, and his team would steal his guitar and make him beg for it so he could play it. He's been abused. He played the guitar from the second he woke up until the second he went to sleep. He's done his Malcolm Gladwell 10,000, 100,000 hours by the time he was 25 years old and 26 years old and world famous. And he did what he had to do. He was experienced. And he didn't do it for the money. He didn't do it because he felt he could sell X number of records. He did it because there was a fire burning inside him to do it. That's what I'm getting at here. And if Jeff Bezos is partying on his $500 million yacht and that makes him happy, then good for him. And if that was his goal all along, then bravo to Bezos. But there's no way you can write a letter to your shareholders in 1997 and basically tell them to go fuck themselves for 4 or 5 years with this idea that you're just doing it for the money. Because what you're really doing it for when you're a guy like him is world domination. We're not talking altruism here, and we're not talking art. We're talking about revolutionizing an industry. And he set a paradigm or a model that's been emulated ever since. And the worst aspects of it are the startup VC pump and dump schemes, of which my protagonist in my novel is a low rent version, all the way to the SpaceXs of the world and Elon Musk, where he blows up rockets and landing pads with impunity. Does what NASA never could have done, because if you blow up one rocket, that's an oops, and you blow up two rockets, and the money people in Congress are starting to scratch their chins, and you blow up three rockets and your funding is pulled, and that's the end of the program. But that's not how you do rocket science. You don't do rocket science transactionally. You do rocket science knowing that you're going to blow up a lot of rockets. And what's Musk's goal? By analogy. Yeah, he's richest guy on the planet, and he certainly likes that. And yes, he's also the world's biggest troll on his own platform, and he likes that too. And of course, it's about ego, even if the ego is compensatory. But Musk is also a man of vision. And regardless what you think about him, his politics, his competency, and his actual role in doing what he did it. And there's absolutely no doubt, at least in my mind, that this guy did it because he's got a vision. And just like Bezos had the vision that you tap on a screen and toilet paper or a Toyota shows up at your door within 24 hours, Musk has had a vision that the human species needs to expand beyond the earth if we are not only to survive, but live for 10,000, 100,000 more years and colonize the galaxy. That's a cool vision. And he believes it. And if you ask me, he's right. Because our time here on the earth, any way you look at it, is high risk and finite. Now, would I do it by trying to get to Mars in one fell swoop? No. That's where his ego gets involved. I've ranted before that I think we should start by colonizing the moon. It's literally right next door in comparison to Mars. It's feasible. We've already been there. And why the hell not? It's got a little bit less gravity. There's zero atmosphere to Mars's some, but there's water on the moon. And there's actually habitable zones on the moon in caves. There's ways we can learn, and there's ways we can take baby steps into space by starting there. But that's beside the point. Musk has vision. Bezos has vision. And you could compare it to an almost religious zeal. They are passionate, obsessed about doing what they're doing. And they're not thinking that I'm going to spend 2 hours and I need to be paid X dollars. And again, I'm not disparaging time and materials work. And I'm not disparaging people who have to feed their families and themselves. And I'm not disparaging anyone who takes that attitude if they look at what they're doing as a means to an end. But my question is to you listening to this: what is your end? What is your goal? What truly makes you happy? You don't have to get back to me, but ask yourself that. And ask yourself if all the sacrifices that you've made and that you continue to make are getting you where you need to go. And then, based on that answer, see if there's a delta between where you are and where you want to get to, and the moves you've made and the strategies that you've applied to ostensibly get there. And once again, I would put it in door number 1 and door number 2. Work is a means to an end, so I can, air quote, retire. I have enough money so I can do what I want to do. And what I want to do has nothing to do with the traditional view of work. I want to play. I want to hang out. Go for it, is what I say. If you're in door number 2, you purport to be an artist. You purport to be an innovator, a startup person, a business visionary, a religious fanatic. Doesn't matter. If you're in door number 2, where your happiness, cannot be realized by golfing, drinking wine, and traveling the world, if that's not enough for you, even if it's offered to you on a silver platter, and maybe especially if it's offered to you on a silver platter, and if you are struggling to find meaning, devoid of having some vision, some goal beyond the creature comforts, then the question becomes, are you doing what you need to do in order to realize that kind of vision? Now, it's self-evident that I am in category 2, but the jury is still out whether it's feast or famine, whether I become a fanboy for others, or whether I am a total flop. And I will venture to suggest that the outcome will not influence my action because, in a sense, I've got no choice. I have to do this. I have to rant. I have to do videos of myself in my kitchen yelling at people. I have to continue this novel to its end and then write more of them. But I also have to pay the rent. And right now I am walking that tightrope between pouring it out creatively and my own risk taking and low ROI attitude catching up with me. So my current state justifies the perspective of everyone who is currently shunning me in terms of potentially partnering. Show me the money. Show me the money, because there's absolutely no assurance that the money ever will be seen. And I get it and I respect it. But I'm ranting because I don't believe it. Because deep down inside, I think the only way to do the best work you can, and the only way to do work that is truly original and innovative and compelling and interesting, is not to be like a lemming and copy what other people deem successful. It's not to obsess over engagement statistics and be disappointed that you're not building your following. It's not being focused on the audience, but it's being focused on the work itself. Rick Rubin has been making the circuit with his book, and it's a great point of view, and I agree with him, which is screw the audience, just do your thing. And I believe that wholeheartedly. But I also understand, especially at this moment, that the rent has to be paid. So there you have it. Will the rent get paid? I'm doing my best. Whether or not the rent gets paid has nothing to do with the dedication and intensity that I have for irrational religious kind of attitude that's put me into this position. But lastly, I feel blessed for having this problem. How many people can say that they wrote the book they always wanted to write? How many people can say that they're doing what they truly love, even if it comes at tremendous sacrifice? And how many people can say that if they drop dead 5 minutes from their last bloviation, rant, or written page, that they have fulfilled their life mission because they have finally fucking figured it out? Not too many. And for that and that alone, this crazy journey, this really intense journey over the last 2-3 years for me has been utterly worth it. And I hope that I could sustain it with equal vigor and intensity and frequency. And if I can't, then I'm always going to do it and squeeze it as much as I possibly can because it's a thrill and I earned it. Like Jimmy, I'm experienced. And the jury is still out on any shareholder, namely me or even my family, being able to cash out. And frankly, I'm not even at that penny per share level yet. But like I mentioned, I got 3 years. It took Mr. Bezos 4 or 5 years to finally issue that penny. So I'm giving myself some slack. And if you want to partner with me, it's not like I'm asking for a free ride. I'm asking you, just like Morpheus asked Neo, to believe. Thanks for listening to the No Hair All Heart podcast. I'm your host, Mookie Spitz, and I'll be ranting soon enough again and again and again. Like, comment, share, because why not?